Happy New Year. It is, when recording this, because I'm going to post another video today, it's going to be the 1st of January. So, Happy New Year, everyone. I don't know when this is going to be posted, probably tomorrow, or whenever you see this, most likely tomorrow. But yeah, so, Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you had a great 2023. Hopefully you'll have a good 2024. My 2023 was pretty crazy. And how it ended was very dramatic, but also like very much needed. So yeah, and it was fun. So I'm Russian American, so it's always fun when it's New Year's. Yeah, so let's see, what are we talking about today? Well, so I decided to make 2 films in one video just for it to be easier. So, because I'm going to be talking about 4 films, and I just don't want to like make 4 videos. I don't know, I just feel like that's too much, especially because I've been posting a lot this week anyway. So, and I just want to make these videos before I have to go back to university. So yeah. Also, I need to let me pop off really quickly. But yeah, so sorry, I had to do something really quickly. But I am back. So yeah, so because the thing about recording videos is, especially if you want to make a daily upload, you have to make multiple videos in one day, and then make a deadline for yourself. And to be honest, I don't want to make 4 videos in one day. 5, maybe. So, because I'm making another video today too. Like, I don't want to make 5 videos in one day. That's too much. Also, I have other things I need to do today too, so I just feel like it would be easier to do it this way. And also, these films that I'm going to be talking about today, they're quite short and to the point, and also like a lot of them actually kind of mingle together in a lot of ways. So the first 2 films I'm going to talk about is Everything Everywhere All at Once and the Hunger Games series, actually. So I definitely understand why you guys would think that's such an odd pairing, and it is definitely, now that I think about it. But I think it's kind of I think they really match together. Okay, so for example, Hunger Games, their newest film out, and they've already made all the books for it, but for the film franchise, this is their newest film. And so this is kind of talking about the president and kind of more about Snow and his childhood and kind of how he became the president and all that. And like his trial and errors, while Everything Everywhere All at Once is kind of talking about this lady who is just going through a lot of like trials and errors in her life, and she needed this drastic change in her life, this drastic measures for her to realize that she needs to change something. So that's essentially what these 2 films are talking about. And I think why these 2 films are so similar in a lot of ways is because it's talking about essentially no one is truly good or bad, if that makes sense. Yes, technically in Panem, the president does become evil, but the reason why he essentially became evil, not that I condone anything that he does, essentially the reason why he became quote-unquote evil is because the world that he lived in was not a good world. I'm sorry, but how could you be a good person and still have a sane head living, especially as an elite in Panem? You gotta be Batman level strong to do that, because if we're gonna be really frank to ourselves, not a lot of people can do that, or at least do it with grace that, Batman, for example, can do. Even though Batman definitely has his trial and errors as well, but you know what I mean. Like, it's very much, it's a very, like, I can understand where he comes from, if that makes sense. And so that's why I'm saying he's not really like a bad guy, but he's also definitely not a good guy. He's more of an anti-hero than anything. And this main character in Everywhere Everything All at Once, she's also kind of an anti-hero as well, because her story is kind of talking about that, because she's just always stressed all the time, and she obviously, if you've not watched these films, do not watch this video. Like, please watch the films on your own accord. But this is just like my summary of it. But also, like, for example, in this film, Everywhere, Everything All at Once, like, the whole reason, because she's also, I think, going through divorce, and she's also going through tax fraud, and her daughter doesn't like her, essentially becomes like a villain. Not really a villain, but in her eyes, at least for the first two parts, because also both of these films are in parts, so I thought that was really interesting to put them together. Anyway, but yeah, and it just kind of shows that it's like, this character, she's not a bad guy. She just, how do you say it? She's not really. So the film is kind of talking about that no one's truly the bad guy. They're just the bad guy to the other person's perspective. So, for example, like, in the daughter's perspective, the mom is like the bad guy, because essentially the daughter, she's gay, and she wants to, like, tell her mom that she's gay, right? She wants to tell her mom about her sexuality because that's important to her, and that she, wants her mom to hear what her perspective. But the thing is that for the mom, she can't hear anything, essentially, because she's just so stressed. And that's why this film also is so psychological, because it shows how if you don't take time and if you don't slow down yourself, you're gonna miss all the little moments that you could have captured if you just took time. And for anyone that's watched this film, if you got to the part where it's the rock scene, that's like my favorite scene. Because even though there is no like spoken dialogue, there's still like written dialogue, and I can't really like remember everything that they were like saying, but the way that they were talking about it and like the metaphors that they were using, I thought it truly was the climax of that film, because it showed that she finally released. Because like in most films, a lot of the climaxes, they're like really intense, they're really like they're really jarring, like they're just like grappling. Well, with this film, the climax is actually more about talking about stillness, talking about reflection, talking about actual thinking. And I think that's, to be honest, it kind of represents how most people are. Because in my life, yes, maybe it's different. Obviously, it's different with everyone. But for me, example, like when I was watching this film, I could really relate, because even though like I've gone through a lot of moments and there's definitely been craziness, I think the moments that really shaped me who I am and kind of shaped me to grow is those silent moments, is those moments of reflection. And not every, and obviously not all films are going to capture those moments, because they're not necessarily exciting or they're not interesting, but actually they really are very interesting. And especially how they did in this film, I think it showed it in such an accurate and such a beautiful portrayal. And I feel like more films should do that, to be honest. I mean, I don't know, just like this scene, I think really, and what really made me like the film a lot, it just showed like how this woman is just going through it, and she's having to have character development, but because she needs it, you know, because like a lot of, I mean, yeah, and especially with like hero stories, like sure, they have like a hero's journey, they have that climax, but not necessarily like this. Like this is just showing, because this is not a hero, this is not a superhero story. This is just about a woman who because she kept ignoring her problems, because she kept avoiding everything in her life, because she just wanted to keep going, and you know, she wanted to, you know, she wanted to just survive. She didn't open her eyes to what's actually is happening. Like she was only thinking about herself and not about the other people around her. Because when you have a business, especially when you're in the society, you need to learn how to essentially wake up. You know, you need to see the people around you, because that's what makes us people. It's the people that we're around, the surroundings that we're around. And if we don't listen to those surroundings, we're gonna have trauma. Because I was talking to one of my friends, and that is how trauma is created, is that we just pile it up, we pile it up, and it just blows up. And that's what trauma is, essentially, is that it's just like you put so much into something and then finally blows up because it can't contain everything. You know, and that's what was showing in this film. And also what was kind of showing in the Hunger Games film too was that, like, he loved Lucy Gray, you know, like he really wanted her to survive, and he really wanted her to like get out of these games. And he kind of knew in his heart, like you could tell in his heart, that he really, really, really didn't like these games, and thought that these games were just ridiculous. And the friend that he had, who I think was part of District 2, yeah, he was part of District 2. And so, like, he, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, he didn't want, like, he wanted the best for Lucy Gray. He wanted to get out of Panem. Like, he literally tried to run away. But because I think the reason why he came back to being president, or came back, and why he came back to the elite, and why he came back to the president, was because he still really valued his honor, and he's valued his family's name. Because the whole point of his character arc, and the reason why he is who he is because for him, and that's why he essentially became, like, quote unquote a villain, is because for him, family and honor is so important. And because of that, being powerful is important. And so, like, even though he had so many good things for him, and he, you know, really lived the high life, he didn't take that for granted, and he didn't see that as gratefulness. He just saw that as a norm. And I think that's what made him who he is because he essentially let people tell him what he should believe, not for him to actually think. And I mean, that is kind of part of this society, and I think the reason why this series even was created, because it's essentially talking about that if you are not with us, we will kill you. Essentially, that is, I mean, and you can interpret it as many ways as you want, but that's kind of how I perceive it, or at least this world. So, yeah, and so for him, he really wanted to be like everyone else, basically. He really wanted for people to like him, And so that's why he couldn't say he was poor. He couldn't say, that he liked one of the girls from the districts, that the Hunger Games is stupid because he lives in a society that doesn't think like that doesn't have morals, essentially. So, yeah. So, obviously, we can interpret it as many ways as you want to, but I think these two films really just shows, like, that not every film needs a hero, and that is totally okay. Because if you really think about it, no one truly is the bad or good guy. It's just how we perceive it in our lens. And, for him, he thinks he's doing the right thing, So I was thinking, like, this is how society should be ran. And this lady is thinking that, like, I need to keep, I need to keep going, I need to survive, I need to pay my taxes, just, she feels like she needs to do all these things to satisfy her, when in reality, it will never be satisfied. It will just be even worse and worse, It's like, I think, and what the lessons that we can learn from these two films, and I think will really wrap up this video nicely, is to see things in a more wider perspective, and to understand that not everything will be will be shoveled to your mouth, essentially. Like, that you need to come up with your own conclusions, come up with your own morals, but also take time and reflect to see if that's what you really mean. Because especially in this society, we are, led to believe that everything is on a silver platter, that everything is on our doorstep, but in reality, it's all about finding that journey and getting to that goal and finding those still moments to truly see if that's what we need to do. I love both of these films so much, man. I will say, like, drama, because I do watch some drama channels. I thought it was really interesting that Maddie Ziegler was in this film. Like, she did a good job, don't get me wrong. Like, she's definitely a good actress. But it's just the whole Snow White fiasco. I just thought it was interesting that they still put her in the film. And for people who don't know about that, I was trying to tell one of my friends this. But basically, she was basically saying, like, oh, like, that's so, like, Snow White is so 1937, like, we need to modernize it and all that. And kind of the whole thing about that is just, like, if you want to make it not 1937, then make your own story. Why are you trying to ruin a perfectly fine story, So, anyway, but I don't know. I don't want to really get too political here. I don't really think it's political, but it's so hard nowadays to really talk about this stuff without getting bashed online and just getting bashed in general. But I just thought it was kind of interesting that, I don't know. So many people have so many, like, opinions and things about her. And so I just thought it was really interesting. Like, I definitely recommend people watching this film, especially if you don't like Maddie Ziegler. Like, still watch it because it is still good. But I just thought that was kind of funny, personally. So, but it is a really good film. I liked it. So, even if she was in it. So, yeah. Okay. I hope you guys like it, and see you guys next time. Bye.